This is the most books I read all year. Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. I'm Lily and this is Lily in the Library. I want to get into my December wrap up. In the final month of 2024, I read a total of 23 books and I had one DNF. Now, I feel like this was a pretty successful month for me, not just in the amount of books that I was able to read and the fact that I was able to surpass my third reading goal of the year, because when I started, I had set my reading goal at 24 books and then I upped it to 75, and then in the end I upped it to 100, and I was able to surpass my goal. But that was a massive achievement for me simply because I have never, that I can recall, read this many books in a year. And it's not just about, I mean, the number is great. It's great that I read that many books. It's great that I was reading so much, but it's about the quality of the books that I read as well. I thoroughly enjoyed a majority of the books that I read this year. Again, like I said, I will discuss more of this in my year-end wrap-up. So I really just want to focus on December for this video. So let's get into it. As I said, I read 23 books this month, and I had one DNF. My DNF was So This Is Christmas by Jenny Holiday. This is kind of a soft DNF. I may come back to it next year. I'm not entirely sure because I got about an hour into the audiobook and I just wasn't jiving with it. It wasn't giving me the Christmas vibes. It just didn't seem like the right kind of story for the mood I was in. So it's not a DNF forever, but I just wasn't feeling it in the time. Now, before I get into the rest of the books that I read, I just want to give you a little bit of a stat breakdown. As I've said in previous monthly wrap ups before, I'm kind of still getting the hang of what I'm doing. I've only been on YouTube for a few months at this time. I just started my channel, I think, in May. So I'm still learning and figuring out what I want my aesthetic to be, how I want things to look, how I want to present, my end of month data to you guys, what is important, what I care about, all of that kind of stuff. So things are going to probably continue to change even over the next year, possibly 2 years, until I can figure out exactly what I want it to look like. And I would also love to have your feedback in on this. What kind of things do you like to see in monthly wrap ups? What interests you? What do you care about? Because right now I'm just kind of like going off of what I care about and what is kind of important to me, but there could be other information that I'm missing that maybe you guys are interested in. So I would love to hear what your thoughts are about that in the comments below. So as for my ratings this month, I had 4 5-star ratings, 10 4-star ratings, 4 3 stars, 5 2 stars, and 1 DNF. I had no 1 stars. I only had one 1-star review for the whole year. So in total, I read 4,128 pages, and that is the most I have read in an entire month, I believe. And that comes out to about 133 pages per day. So needless to say, I was busy this month. I was reading. I was really getting after it. Out of those 23 books, 21 of them were audiobooks or audio and physical, like immersive reading, and 2 of them were purely physical books. So I'm not going to mess around too much more. Let's get right into the books. These are in no particular order. I believe they're probably in the order that I read them in, but that's about it. And let's get into it. So first I read Have You Seen This Girl by Nita Tyndall. And this one was so chilling to me because there are points in the books where they are describing actual abductions, like not real life, but like an actual abduction that's happening in the book, because this book is about our main character and her father who went to prison for kidnapping and killing young women. Now he's been in jail for some time, I believe like 8 to 10 years or somewhere around there, and girls are going missing and turning up dead yet again in the same fashion that they were originally. So there's this mystery at the core of the story. There's weird shit happening to our main character. She is also trying to reconcile her feelings about her father, her family, the way the town treats her, the way the kids at school treat her. There's a lot of complexity happening in this one. What really stuck out to me the most was just how freaking chilling it is to read and listen to someone like describing another person's last moments, like the last time they're ever seen or the last thoughts they have that go through their mind. Oh, it was a lot. So I did give this one 4 stars. I thought it was great writing, made me feel things, and kept me hooked. I really wanted to read this one. Then we have The Gift by Frida McFadden. This one was super short. It is a retelling on that super old story that comes around for Christmas. She sells her hair to buy her husband a chain for his pocket watch, and he sells his pocket watch to buy her combs for her hair because they don't have a lot of money and they want to do something special for each other. So it's that story. It's like, but not quite, because it's like make it thriller. And the ending, when I tell you the ending had my jaw on the floor, I was like, oh my God. So for this one, Frida really hit it out of the park for me, and I loved it. And my first 5 stars was Frederick Bachman's Deal of a Lifetime. This was a little bit of a Christmas vibe. It's got a giant Christmas tree on the cover, but I didn't feel like it was super Christmassy in that way. It's kind of more of a reflection on like your life and what you would do not only for a loved one, but for a perfect stranger, the roles we play in people's lives and things like that. It was very heartfelt and very touching, and I really, really enjoyed it. Then we have Dashing Through the Snow by Laura Rush, which I did give 2 stars. It was an arc. I didn't hate it, but I just felt like the writing left something to be desired. I wanted more from the story, and I get it. It is it's a novella, it's a short story, and it's one in a series, but I just felt like in this story, the progression didn't make sense. It wasn't natural. What was going on with our main characters didn't really make a lot of sense. The way they came together was weird. I don't know how else to explain it, but I felt a way about it because it is an art copy, but at the same time, I have to be honest, and I just didn't enjoy my time with this one. And I have Christmas Presents by Lisa Unger, which was a 3-star for me. This was almost a 2-star because this was only 5 hours. This book was not that long. And there were times when I was really bored. Like I felt like it was really dragging. But there was a couple of scenes where it really made me laugh. Also, the mystery was a little bit predictable, but also kind of not predictable. I don't know how to explain it. Christmas where? This got recommended to me as a Christmas thriller, and there was barely any Christmas going on. So, and like now, the more that I'm thinking about it, I'm like, was this a 2-star? Maybe it was a 2-star. I don't know. It was okay. Then I have The Christmas Appeal by Janice Hallett, which was a 4-star, and it cracked me up so much. I was laughing through so much of this book. Like it is told a lot mixed media. You're reading text messages, you're reading emails, and the back and forth and stuff. And it was just really funny. It's about I believe it's called a Pantone that they're putting on for Christmas at the church. And there are just so many shenanigans happening in this book. And it was so funny. It was so funny. And it was super Christmassy, in my opinion. And then I read Resting Scrooge Face by Megan Quinn. 3 stars. Could take it or leave it. I don't know. I don't even really remember what this one was about now. But it was definitely Christmassy. But it just didn't hit me the way I wanted it to. It wasn't what I had hoped for. And it didn't really hold my attention. And obviously now, not even a month later, I don't even remember what it was about. So how good could it really have been? And I read My December Darling by Lauren Asher, and I think I just don't like her writing. But for something that the cover of the book is a gingerbread house and it's supposed to be taking place during Christmas, I felt like this was not a Christmas book. I was lied to. I was misled. I wanted Christmas romance, and I got not that. I mean, yeah, there was a romance, but I just also the premise of the book, like it's supposed to be like, oh, super taboo because her sister's marrying her ex and the ex's best friend likes her. Okay, she wasn't even that interested in the guy to begin with. There's no tension between them. It's not like this whole big thing. And then I don't know, it's kind of like making shit more like a bigger deal than it actually is. Like if this was in real life, but also even in the book, it's not that big of a deal. So what is this book even like trying to do? Like I don't know. That part just really, why? Just why? It just didn't hit the way I wanted it to. Then All by My Elf by Olivia Dade really missed the mark for me. Again, another Christmas book, and this was one of those Amazon originals. I think there's like that series of them. Didn't care for this. Don't even remember what it was about, so obviously it wasn't that interesting. I know it wasn't that interesting in the time because I could barely pay attention to this book. Yeah, no. Next. And then finally, I got a good Christmas book, like with good Christmas vibes. Christmas Shopaholic by Sophie Kinsella. 5 stars. Freaking loved this book. It's on my best of 2024. As an honorable mention, it was so good. So good. Loved this book so much. I loved the Christmas vibes. They were perfect. The main character Bex was totally relatable. She was such a real, like, fleshed out person with this complicated real life, complicated people. Like, the characters were so real. Like, am I reading a book or am I living life? Like, the amazing, amazing. And then the way her husband stands up for her in the end, just the best, just the best. Like, this was such a good book, so good. Not so good, Small Things Like These by Claire Keegan. Now, I feel like the writing was above average, but for me, it's like a slice of life type of book, and I have to stop reading these kinds of books because they never get above 3 stars for me. I don't care. Like, there's no plot. I didn't care about the situation. I didn't care about him and his family. I just didn't care. There wasn't any reason for me to care. I didn't care what the book was trying to say, where it was I just didn't care. I didn't care. And it has everything to do with the type of book that it is, where it's this kind of meandering and we're really just with this person living their life, and there's no real anything driving the story forward. It's just kind of like, we're here, this is what's happening, ta-da. I gave that 2 stars. I don't know if I said that, but I gave that one 2 stars. Then I read The Measure by Nikki Ehrlich, and I gave that one 4 stars. I thought this was great. It was very interesting and such an interesting take on things, like an interesting premise and scenario where, everybody's just living their life, and then one day these boxes show up at their door with a string inside, and the string directly correlates to how much longer you have left on Earth. I thought it was so interesting. It brought up some very unique perspectives and things that I personally wouldn't have thought about, like short stringers not being able to serve in the army and stuff like that. That I just thought was really interesting. And there's this whole, like, because we're following multiple perspectives throughout the book, and there is this whole, like, fiasco basically with 2 young men who are in the military. One has a short string, one has a long string, and they decide to lie about which one is which. So that was very interesting to me, just seeing that play out and everything in that dynamic. There were some things I didn't care for about this book, and that kind of did detract. It took a star away from it, but I thought it was great writing. It was very well written, and the concept was not only a great concept, but it was executed very well. And I read No One Can Know by Kate Ellis Marshall, and we're both surprised that I gave her 4 stars, because I think I gave her 3 stars for What Lies in the Woods, but it should have been 2 stars because that book made me mad. No, but I have said this before. I think Kate Alice Marshall has a specific way of writing, and it's just the way she ends her books is like she holds on to the information until the very end, and sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't, because in No One Can Know, the way she released a little bit more throughout the book and it was better dispersed, but there was still a lot of information that we don't find out until the very end, and a lot of things that aren't revealed. And in No One Can Know, it really worked. It was still a natural progression, and it just felt more realistic. Whereas What Lies in the Woods, it was almost like just being consistently hit with a barrage of information that would have better served the story had it been dispersed earlier throughout the book, at and made the pacing a little bit better. But I really enjoyed the mystery. I enjoyed what was happening. Characters were great. and I was definitely caught off guard by what was going on. Then I had another 2-star, Santa Killer by Divino Batista. This mainly got low rating because the translation was terrible. I didn't know it was translated work until I started reading it. Because that's not listed anywhere. And then I believe it's like on the introduction, and then as soon as you're like actually reading the little novella, it's very apparent that this is translated and it's not translated well. I'm not even going to go into the synopsis or go into anything about it other than it's about a play, because this book is 20 pages, and if I tell you anything, I'm just going to tell you the whole book. So you'll just have to read it for yourself. Then I read Sour Candy by Keelan Patrick Burke, and this was a 4-star. This was so bizarre and so weird, and maybe I read this at the wrong time, like of the year, because this was definitely out of season. But it was so good. Like the writing was great. Love the writing, love the imagery. I love the premise of this book, which is basically this kid shows up in this guy's life and he doesn't have any kids, and everything changes after that. I don't want to say too much more because again, it's a short read, but this was so wild. Like I didn't know where it was going ever at all. Like I kind of thought, and then I was like, "Oh, that's not what's happening at all." So that was a good one, and I would recommend it if you like weird horror, especially like body horror and stuff. I would recommend that one. Then I read Just the Nicest Couple by Mary Kubica, 5 stars. Freaking loved it. It was so good. From start to finish, I was hooked. I was loving my time with it. Did not want to stop reading it. Absolutely needed to know what the hell was going on. And then I feel like too, like we were getting parts of the story, but then the parts of the story we were getting weren't necessarily the truth. That just made the intrigue even more. And yeah, I just was super excited to continue reading this one. It's basically about 2 couples. We're following one person from each couple. Nina and Christian are our main characters. And Nina is married to Jake, who very early on goes missing in the book, and Christian is married to Lily, who Nina doesn't know this, but we quickly find out is the last person to see Jake alive, or so we think. So it was so good, like just unraveling this mystery and where is Jake, what happened to him, where did he go, like, and how Lily is involved in this, and then how Christian gets involved in it. It was so crazy. Like this was such a good book, and it was just like this is the type of writing that I love from Mary Kubica. Then I read The Lake of Lost Girls by Catherine Green, and this one was a 4-star. Now this one did have a podcasting element to it. However, I felt like it was very unnecessary and added very little to the story. It basically regurgitated the information we had already received from the narrative. And to me, it just felt like it didn't need to be in the story. It wasted a little bit of time, and it just kind of like took away from the rest of the story. In this one, we are following our main character, don't remember her name, and she's investigating the disappearance of her sister many years ago. And it's not just her sister, it's a few other girls as well from their area who went missing, and they have never found the bodies. Well, flash forward all this time later, and now bodies are starting to turn up. So she kind of like tries to retrace her sister's steps and find out what happened, what she had to do with these missing girls, and then whether or not this is the work of a serial killer, because they had hypothesized that even though they never found the bodies, that these girls were dead and it was the work of a serial killer. So throughout the exploration of all of these avenues, these theories in the book, we obviously do find out what happened in the end. And it was very sad, in my opinion, and I didn't expect it. It was definitely an unexpected twist. But I felt like the pacing for this one was a little bit off. It was pretty interesting at different intervals, but then there was a lot of dragging, a lot of backstory and explanation that maybe could have been a little bit better summarized. But all in all, I still gave this one 4 stars because it was a really good mystery and it was a really great twist. And right after that, I read You Better Watch Out by James Murray, and I ended up giving this one 3 stars because it was super predictable. Now, it was fun. I did have fun reading, especially once they're like in the meat of what's going on. But it was so predictable in the end. It reminded me a lot of Saw, both in like the games that are being played and the gore, because it was pretty gory, I will say, especially this one part with the carousel. If you know, you know. But I don't know. The writing wasn't anything spectacular, anything to blow me away. I didn't feel like the idea was super fun and fresh. And yeah, the ending was so painfully predictable. Like when I tell you I knew exactly, like I could have written the ending and it would have been exactly the same ending. So that was a little bit disappointing. Then I finally picked up The Summer Hikaru Died. I read the first volume and loved it so much. 4 stars. This is my first manga in a long, long time, and I was so excited to be able to just pick up a manga and read it like I had all those years ago. And I still really enjoy manga, I think. I am currently reading the second volume of it because it is that good. Gutted that my library only has the first 2 volumes, and I'm probably going to have to start buying the next ones because this is the kind of manga, the kind of book that once you start reading it, you just want to inhale it. It is, I would say, pretty fast paced and interesting and crazy. And what can I tell you without giving too much away? Hikaru goes up into the mountains near his hometown in the summer and he goes missing for a few days. And when he comes back, his best friend realizes that he's not Hikaru. And we go about 2 or 3 chapters into this manga, I think, before Hikaru reveals to his friend what exactly he is. It's really weird. It's really bizarre. It's very graphic, I would say, but definitely good. Then I read The Christmas Tree Farm by Melody Carlson, and I liked it well enough. It was a short romance, and the premise made me hate her sister so much. So we are mainly following Madison, who has come back from China to her family tree farm. Her father and grandmother have passed away, and her little sister, Addie, has been there running the farm. Now, Addie is over running the farm. She's stressed out. She's tired of it, and she's telling her sister that they're not making any money anyway, so she wants to sell the farm, which Madison is heartbroken by because she has the fondest memories there, and she's now realized that her childhood sweetheart has moved back home to his hazelnut farm, which is the property next door. This causes some tension between Addie and Madison because apparently Addie was also in love with the next door neighbor. I believe his name is Gavin. And she tells her sister she's got dibs on him, da da da. And little does she know that Madison and Gavin were sweethearts. And he's not interested in Addie. He is definitely and obviously interested in Madison. The dynamic between Madison and the rest of her family was kind of like annoying. I really didn't care for it. I do love the dynamic between her, Gavin, and Gavin's youngest daughter, I think Lucy or Lily. I can't remember what her name was. In the end, it ends up being really heartfelt. There's like some funny moments, some cringy moments, some tense moments throughout, but in the end, it ends up being a really cute and sweet, heartfelt moment, and I really did enjoy it. I did give it 4 stars. Ooh, then I read This Is Where We Talk Things Out by Caitlin Marceau. I gave this 4 stars, and when I tell you this was friggin' creepy, like this was such a short book, but it packed a big punch. This is about our main character. I don't remember what our main character's name was, but it's about her and her mom reconnecting because she has pushed her mom out of her life for the past 5 years. And her father has recently died, so it's only her and her mom now. And they're supposed to go away on this trip up north in the mountains to a cabin to kind of like have a little weekend to be together and bond and reconnect and whatever. And literally, first of all, in the beginning, it talks about how the mom is kind of like low-key obsessed with her and like stalking her, which already was like put me on edge. And then as soon as the mom gets there, as soon as she picks her up, it already starts. Like they're already at each other's throats. And I was just like, how is this going to play out? Like, how is this going to work? It's so toxic. And it's like, when I tell you, this was just so wild. Even the ending, I was just like, wow. Wow. Like, I mean, I feel like we could have kind of saw where this was going, but also I didn't, and I had hoped that that's not where it was going. But then we went there and it was awful. So, but it was a great read. Traumatizing, but it was a great read and I definitely would recommend it. Then my last 5-star of the month was Come Closer by Sarah Gran. This was a story of possession. And it was so like it really got under my skin. It was so good though. Because it kind of almost like laughs at the idea of our main character being possessed. I believe our main character is Nina. And then slowly but surely, we just see this progression of, oh yeah, no, she's really becoming possessed. And it is so wild. It is so bizarre. It is so horrific in truth. I really don't want to tell you anything more other than that. You just got to read this one. And then we come to my last book of the month, my last book of the year, which unfortunately was a 2-star. It was Follow Me to Ground by Sue Rainsford. Now, I don't know if I just didn't get what was going on in this book, or if I did get it and I just thought it was stupid, but I just did not enjoy my time with this one. I was bored most of the time. I probably should have DNF'd it, but I didn't want to end the year on a DNF. And this was a short read, so I thought I would be able to get through it and at least enjoy it. I didn't. It was weird, and not weird in a good way. It was just weird. It was weird and nonsensical, and something about burying bodies and healing them and bringing them back to life. I really don't know what to tell you about this one, other than I didn't like it. And I'm upset about it. But we have to keep moving. So those are all the books I read in December and how I ended off my year. I would love to hear what you guys thought if you've read any of these books or if you're interested in any of them. Please let me know in the comments below. If you haven't already, please consider subscribing if you'd like to see more videos from me. That's all I have for you guys today, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!